So it was about 2 years ago, I got a phone call from a guy that I used to play football with at Princeton. I got a phone call, you've got to meet this guy in the Madison Square Park. I said, all right, well, okay. So I left work, met this guy waving his hands, talking about Uber. I was, what are you talking about? So we kept going. We walked once, twice, 3 times, talked a little bit about my background in crowdsourcing, 4 times. 5 hours later, I realized that we had a great idea on our hands. Brin introduced me to the idea of RecruitiFi. I actually resigned from work that day because I knew we had a big thing on our hands, and I was really excited. And that brings us here today. And with that, I'll hand it over to Brin, who's going to tell you a little bit about RecruitiFi and what we're doing here.
It's great to be here. Thank you so much. And it was a good walk 2 years ago. We walked around Madison Park. So again, my name is Brin McCagg, and I'm founder and CEO of RecruitiFi. And I think we have something very unique. And we strategically placed this infomercial right before lunch. So to get your lunch, you have to listen to this. But I think you'll find it interesting. First of all, Destination Talent. Norm has done an incredible job with Destination Talent. I think you've all gotten to know him. And the purpose of this, again, is to elevate the conversation and to learn from each other. Our speakers are subject matter experts, and so are all of you. And I think you're all looking to challenge yourself and create innovation in your organization. And the purpose of this event, RecruitiFi's Destination Talent, is to start those conversations and learn from each other, whether it's new processes, new best practices, or new technologies, whether it's our platform or not. And I'm going to talk a little bit about what we do and the goal. And our goal at RecruitiFi is to help drive significant change in the recruiting industry. And I want to ask a question here. Who's happy with their recruiting process and their talent acquisition process? Who thinks they have the perfect process? Okay, good, because if you did, I was going to actually have you speak in my place. I think we all recognize there's a significant problem. I'm glad the industry has evolved significantly. When I started in my first job, I was an investment banker in New York. Came out of business school, and I was put in charge of campus recruiting. And one night, I was sitting around a table with like 5 of my colleagues, and we were put in charge of campus recruiting. And in those days, you know, we had a stack of resumes, and we used to actually read the resumes, and we'd read the whole resume, and I'd pass it to my colleague, and we'd go around in a circle, and we'd vote yes, no, maybe. And this was going on and on and on. It was 10 o'clock at night, and the managing director walked in, and he said, "Why are you guys all complaining?" And he took the top half of the resume stack and threw it in the garbage. And we're like, "What are you doing? Those could be great candidates." He said, "You don't want to hire anyone unlucky, do you?" So sorting technologies have come a long ways, and I'm glad recruiting has too. I'm always worried that like Steve Jobs or somebody was in that stack. We all agree that the time to hire is significant. And when you have unfilled positions, you are obviously losing out on that war on talent, because good people, I can tell you, are not waiting around. I think we all recognize that. You're also losing out because you have unfilled positions, which is causing stress on the business, right? Unfilled positions means there's less productivity. So time to hire is a significant cost. And actually, I think it was Deloitte that measured it at being about 2 to 3 times the person's salary. Any day that a position is unfilled, the soft cost of that is about 2 to 3 times. Quality, that elusive factor, how do we measure quality? How do we make sure that we are hiring the right people for the right roles? Is turnover low? How's job satisfaction over the long period of time? Cost to hire. You know, I think we all know that cost to hire is extremely high, and it's getting higher, right? With all these technologies, it doesn't seem to be going down. And cost to hire is obviously, there's a lot of soft costs with hiring. Does everybody measure all the overhead, all the time you're tying up hiring managers, talent acquisition people, internal people, external people? Cost to hire, I think, is undermeasured, frankly, significantly. And then control and visibility. Do you have control? Do you have visibility over what's happening across your organization? Do you have hiring managers going off and making rogue hires with their, college roommate who's a recruiter? And do you have control and visibility over your own team and how productive they are? So these are challenges we're looking to to face as an industry, and our goal here is to start a conversation. Destination Talent is our way of working with you. We think we've got something quite innovative, and I think you'll agree when I tell you a little bit more about what we do. But we need your help. We want to learn from you about how we can make our platform more effective for the industry as a whole. So in terms of those challenges, McKinsey measured those challenges, and there's a report they published last summer, and if you want it, I will send it to you. It's about that thick. There's a lot of great facts in it. It's also a sleep aid, so if you have stress, you'll probably fall asleep after about 2 pages. But the report I'll distill down to one number, which is $800 billion. And McKinsey's the best consulting company in the world, pretty much, and they measured the inefficiencies in recruiting, and they did it in a very methodical way, and this is on a worldwide basis. They reckon that over the next decade, online technologies and new ways of doing things are going to drive about $800 billion of efficiency gain for the world economy in all those 4 things I just mentioned. Shorter times to hire, better quality, which means the person's more productive, longer longevity in the position, more job satisfaction means more productivity, lower cost of hire, and better matches. So there's a lot of opportunity in this $800 billion, and we look at Destination Talent as a way to start the conversation to collectively realize that $800 billion, and I think we can do it. So I want to tell you a little bit about what RecruitiFi does. So when you first look at the platform, you might think of it as a vendor management system. A lot of people say that as I start to tell what we do. And it's a platform, single platform, where you can take your current third-party agency recruiters and invite them onto the platform. They accept one contract. It's one payee, so now you have one vendor. And now you have a dashboard with control and visibility. You can see what they're doing. You can see who's using them. In addition, how many people are solicited by third-party agencies pretty much on a regular basis? And how many people have time to deal with them, to vet them, to contract with them, to know if they're any good? Does anybody have the time to do it? Okay, no one raised their hand. But they might have gems. They might have the person that you're looking to hire next. So they're an asset out there. They're a resource, but you have no way of really leveraging them. Our platform, in a sense, is a solicitation management tool also. You can just send them to our platform. We vet them. We contract them because it's one contract. And now they're on the platform to deliver a candidate to you if they happen to get one of your job requisitions. And I'll talk about that in a minute. So it's a vendor management system. The cost of our product is very low. So one thing is, this thing is built for scale. We are looking not to compete with agency recruiting. We are looking ultimately to be a competitor to RPOs. I want to be clear. This is a platform to outsource a large portion. So it's very low cost to use. It's $25 a month per seat. For users, we take a tiny fee from legacy recruiters, and it's built for scale. So a low-cost vendor management system. So when I met Justin, the DNA of our platform is very different than a traditional HR platform. I was riding in an Uber car when I got the idea for this and the inspiration. I literally was, when somebody was describing how Uber worked to me, I was like, well, if you could leverage a crowd of drivers to optimize and deliver the ride instantly, why couldn't we leverage a crowd of expert recruiters to optimize and deliver the candidate if I could get the job requisition into the exact right recruiter's hands at that exact right moment that they have that candidate? And that is really the DNA of our platform. So we are more like Uber or Airbnb in the way we're built, in the way we're designed, and the way we scale. You may have seen this quote: Uber is the largest taxi company in the world, and they have no taxis. Airbnb is the largest accommodation company, and they have no real estate. As Mark Andreessen said, and he's probably the one of the number one VC venture capitalists in the world right now, he said, technology is eating the world, and it is changing every industry. And if you don't think it's going to change this industry, I will assure you it is going to change this industry. And McKinsey agrees, to the tune of $800 billion. So we're facing something I think is significant, and this is our DNA. So in addition to a vendor management system, we have a crowd of recruiters. Think of them as bees coming to a honey hive, and they're swarming us. Over 5,000 recruiters have joined our platform. These are independent, or sometimes they work for larger agencies. They're experts. They're joining our platform with one contract, one vendor, us the vendor, and we're bringing them very specialized jobs based on what they specialize in and what they're good at. In exchange for doing that, they're working at less than half a fee. So now the crowd that is your traditional agencies that were 20, 25, 30, 33%, our entire crowd is one flat fee, and we charge 14% if they make a hire. So now all of a sudden we're starting to talk about leveraging a much bigger crowd and reducing your costs. Now I can see people, all of a sudden they're getting nervous, 5,000 recruiters, how do I know if they're good? How do I vet them? They're gonna be sending my jobs, they're gonna be doing idiotic things. How many people have had recruiters do idiotic things? Okay, everybody. That's not at all the way the platform works. Our platform is essentially, it relocalizes things. Uber might have 1 million drivers around the world, but when you order up the car, it's the precise car that's nearest to you. Our platform is vetting the recruiters and it's matching your job requisition. Well, I want to be clear one thing. You can choose what recruiter you want if you want to use a legacy recruiter. So you can use it just like a traditional vendor management system if you have an agency that you like, and you can set their fees and do all that. That's kind of standard. Or you can just let us use big data to match it to the right recruiter. And we match it based on what they're good at and how they've performed on prior searches. And why is this relevant to you? Because as they get better, they get faster and they quantifiably get better. And let me just talk through how it works. At first, you bring on your own agencies, you invite them on, they join. They lose virtually no economics. And if they make a placement, we charge you the exact same fee of whatever you set the fee at. If it's 20%, great. If it's 30%, we don't care. You pay us. So when a placement's made, you pay us as the vendor. We turn around, pay the crowd of experts. So it's a crowd tool, it's a vendor management tool, but I want you to know where we're heading in the future. We're also planning, I just came out of the tech discussion earlier, and it was really interesting, and there was talking about video interviewing and visibility in the hiring process between the recruiters and the hiring managers and talent acquisition. And one of the things that was brought up was how to get more effective employee referral hiring. How many people would like to get more effective referral hiring from your own employees? So we are going to be adding that feature shortly, and what that does is, I know everybody says they have a platform to do it. I wish if you have one that really works, great, I'd say use it. But I can tell you, having looked at a lot of them, there's no relevancy. Do you think your top employees that are focused on their job are going to your internal job board and looking at jobs which are not necessarily even relevant to what they're doing? So they don't work as well as they should, but your employees are your best referrers. And that's why we call our platform something totally different. It's not a vendor management tool. It's an expert referral system, and we call it ERS for short. It's a platform to let you leverage a crowd of experts, your employees, your recruiters, our crowd, in a very targeted way and in a controlled and confidential way to help you fill positions more effectively, more quickly, and at a lower cost. And so let me just walk through quickly how the ERS works. Think of it like eBay. It's a two-sided marketplace. Our recruiters are joining. Every day we got recruiters signing up at the 10%, at the fee 10%, which again passes through to you at 14%. And as companies sign up, we're the platform that's facilitating the transaction. And we're letting you leverage what I believe is one of the most important things in recruiting, which is the human element, right? How many people here have gotten a job on a job board? Does anybody, you got a job on a job board? Okay, that's good. So they do work sometimes, but I bet that number 10, 15 years ago was a lot higher. They're getting less and less effective. Do you find your talent acquisition page, are you getting the right flow of candidates? And also, are you having to sort through 100 candidates to get to the right candidate? So you're spending a lot of time with a lot, volume and not value. And what we're doing is leveraging the human element, and we believe in the value of an expert recruiter. There's no substitute to a money-motivated expert recruiter who wants to help you fill the position, if you could qualify them, if you could vet them, and if you could contract them without friction. The problem is, and if you could get them at a fee that was reasonable. So we're letting you leverage that crowd. So here's how it works in a nutshell. Companies sign on, they invite their recruiters on, and now they can start using it. They can take as many seat licenses as they want. They can have anybody in the company, their company, use it. You put in what we call a jobcast, which is a job requisition sort of on steroids. It's a standard job requisition, but we ask for a little bit more information to cut out a lot of the unnecessary communication cycles. And you send that jobcast out. You can choose what recruiter to send it to. So if you want to do a rifle shot targeted confidential search, great. Just choose the recruiter. Again, the contract's taken care of. They submit the candidate through our platform. If you want to use our platform for the crowd, you just hit the button jobcast. And we instantly match it to the right recruiters that are relevant to your job. And we do that because when the recruiters sign up, they select what they specialize in. They select the roles and industry that they specialize in. But more importantly, we're collecting vast amounts of data on how they perform on prior searches. So if they're good at, say, Ruby programming jobs in Silicon Valley, we're going to give them more Ruby programming jobs. If they're not good at Python jobs, we take away those jobs. And by driving them into specializations, we are quantifiably making them significantly better. And I'm going to show you some data in a minute. Now, the recruiters get this. It's a private invitation. No recruiters can sign up for it. It's not a job board. No candidates can see it. It's a confidential invitation that you control. The recruiters that get it have 15 days to submit their 4 best candidates. That's it. We want their best, and we want them in 15 days. When they submit the candidate has to confirm their interest, so you never get a candidate that hasn't also confirmed that they're interested. When I start looking at this industry, somebody gave me a demo of an ATS. I won't say which one because I don't want to, but the thing looked like it was designed in the Soviet bloc back in the 70s. I mean, it was so clunky. Our platform, we wanted to design this thing using, just a very slick interface. So we had to look to the dating sites, actually. So some of you may be familiar with Tinder and these other sites. Now, I'm too old for this, but when we had to do the interface, I had to sacrifice myself and volunteer to learn how to do the swiping and look at the pretty people. And actually, I think I saw a couple of you, so call me. No, but joke aside, actually those sites and a lot of other sites have gotten so innovative in their user experience. It's so slick and easy to use. Our site requires no training. I can tell you right now. You could sign up in 5 minutes, you'd figure it out. Basically, you send out your jobcast, you get candidates, and you sort them, interested or not interested, and you can give feedback. And that does 2 critical things. One, it gives instant feedback to the recruiter. You can communicate with the recruiter individually, or you can communicate in bulk to all the recruiters that are submitting candidates, cutting out lots of unnecessary cycles of communication. But the most important thing the sorting does is we are scoring the recruiters. As you sort yes and move candidates through the hiring process and hire, you're telling us that recruiter's good at that role in that industry, in that location. And that is making them better at their job because we can then spoon feed them another similar job in a short, and all of a sudden they start to specialize. And obviously the recruiter that you're sorting no, you're telling us they're bad. And they might be good at other roles and bad at that role. And just like a bad house on Airbnb, if it gets bad ratings, nobody rents it. You don't need to vet them. We vet them. And by the way, we have a middle layer, an account management layer that sees all the candidates submitted, and they're specialists in different industries, and they're doing a pre-sort. So you don't even see, once in a while, obviously a recruiter submits a silly candidate, and you don't even see them. And that obviously scores them. So the recruiter is vetting the candidate, we're vetting the recruiter, and then you're further vetting the recruiters. And that drives them into this specialization that makes them faster and better. So let me talk about specific numbers. I think we have something that's very exciting. I think it's quite different. It's a platform. People might say, oh, this looks like, or it sounds like this, or it looks like that, or it looks like that. If you look back at companies like eBay, it was not a pawn shop. LinkedIn was not a job board. Uber was not a limo company. Airbnb is not a hotel company. Netflix is not a TV channel. It's just slightly different. They might deliver the same end product, but it's different. I think we have something that's quite a bit different. It's a single platform that gives you, if you're the head of HR, visibility across your team, if you're the head of talent acquisition, and your dashboard is customizable, and you can start to see how my team is performing in terms of cost to hire, time to hire, number of hires, how my crowd is doing, meaning your legacy recruiters or your preferred vendors versus the RecruitiFi crowd. And then you can start to have interesting conversations about the cost. So, and then by the way, it's also a platform, and if you're using the site as a hiring, talent acquisition person, obviously you have a dashboard, and also the crowd of recruiters have a dashboard, and they can see how they're performing. And this is very much a two-sided marketplace where you as a company are building an online reputation and the recruiters are building an online reputation, and we use data to match them. They just don't submit to candidate companies that don't use the site effectively. If you're an ineffective user, you send out jobs and don't make hires, send out jobs and don't communicate, send out jobs and don't give them feedback. How can that recruiter work? They can't. So sometimes people complain about agency recruiters. Well, we love agency recruiters, and they're obviously joining our platform in droves. But you have to give them feedback, and you have to bring them into the process. And we also have a lot of innovative tools that let you convey things like corporate culture, and we can do bulk webinars with all the recruiters on your corporate culture, or webinars around specific jobs, or webinars around specific different segments that you're hiring for. It's also gathering tremendous data, and that's data that we want to share back with you to give you better results and let you think about your overall recruiting process. Time to introduction. Our clients are telling us that we are cutting quantifiably 7 to 8 days out of the hiring process, out of the gate. Our clients on average are meeting their clients in about 15 days. Their average time to hire is about 47 across all of our current clients. So I don't know how that compares with you. We're introducing the candidate they hire when they come to our platform in about 6 to 7 days on average. So we're cutting out of the front end. Now, how are we doing that? Because the recruiter that gets that Ruby job interviews 50 Ruby programmers. The next time they get a Ruby job in San Francisco, they have the runner-up right there. How do we know? Because we hired 3 Ruby programmers for our own company on our own platform. And by the third time we went to hire, the same recruiter placed the candidate, and he had him in the system within an hour. So he was very happy to take the lower fee, I can tell you. So time to hire in the war on talent, we're dramatically cutting that. And I think there'll be a day when, and I think it'll be a day soon, with engaged clients, where you're not going to think about calling a limo tonight or a car service to go to the airport tomorrow morning. With Uber, if you have the Uber app, why would you do that? You're going to be getting up, packing your bags, and as you're closing your door to your hotel, you hit the Uber button. By the time you're down in the lobby, the car's there. That's the way hiring, I believe, is going to be. And I think it's going to be there very, very soon. You're going to send a jobcast. Our recruiters will submit the right candidates within 5 days. They're finding the candidates and instantly submitting them. And then you interview them. And if you don't interview and hire the good candidate, do your background checks, whatever you got to do. But hiring shouldn't be more than 15 days. And that's the reality. And I've done a lot of hiring in my life, and for big companies and small companies, it's the communication chain and it's the bureaucratic chain that gets in the way. And if you've got a great candidate, if you don't hire them in the future, some other company is going to hire them. So our goal is to ultimately get the time to hire down to about 15 days on our platform. Cost to hire. So I told you about your recruiters. Let's say you have them at 30, 33%. If they make the hire, nothing changes for you. It's the exact same economics. If we make the hire, our crowd, which you should consider your crowd, it's 14%. As we add employees on, you set the fee. I'm sure it's going to be a dollar amount. So let's say it's $1,000 on a $100,000 job. It's 1%. Our goal is to start to reduce your total cost to hire. This is not a platform just to leverage expert agencies or expert search firms. It's a platform to help you fill any open position and leveraging this crowd of experts. And over time, I can tell you, we have recruiters that have made $200,000 in less than 9 months. Some of them are living, we have one recruiter in India that's made that. So it's not about, we're not trying to squeeze them down. This is not a zero-sum game. If we can feed them repeat roles, they're happy taking a lesser fee. We're taking all the business development away from them. They don't have to get up and get in a suit and go try to call you and solicit you. They don't have to contract with you. They don't have to worry about collections and backdoor hires. We're doing that all for them. So they're happy to give up the fee. And it's about giving them a good living, and they're ready and excited to help you fill positions. So our goal, I think, we will be able to get your total cost of hiring on our platform to below 10% in the very near future. And then quality. So this is the hardest thing to measure. But I'll tell you some stats that I think you're going to find interesting. On our platform, the recruiters are going out and submitting candidates. 91% of the candidates submitted on our site are currently in a job according to their LinkedIn profile. So they might be looking for a job or they might have been passive. What is that telling us? It tells me that our crowd of experts are finding and ferreting out that candidate that's probably not looking at your webpage, probably not looking at a job board, probably not listening to social media. They're doing their job and they're probably somewhat satisfied at their job. And that recruiter is making them aware of your job and interested and willing to submit themselves. So 91% currently in a job. 80% of those candidates that are submitted are getting swiped right, basically. The company wants to look at them and evaluate them deeper. And 65% are getting interviews. For some of our companies that are using it most effectively, they're getting 100% hire rate. I cannot guarantee that for everyone. I want to be clear. The numbers do range. But we have recent companies that have sent out 12 jobcasts. We're very engaged on the site. The crowd got all fired up, like whacking a hive of bees, and they submitted and furiously, and hires were made, and they made 12 hires, all of them under 25 days. For a range of positions, too. It was a big manufacturing company. It's one of the recent companies that did that. 12 hires, 25 days, 100% fill rate. The results do vary, but we have something quite unique, and we're excited to talk to you about it. And if you have any questions, I'll open it up for questions.
Hi.
Hey.
So first, thank you for this. This was really informative. I have a lot of questions, but the first one is, so who handles the relationship within the business? Does the business still hold on to some recruiters who manage the relationship with RecruitiFi? Is it like a talent acquisition manager? Is it the hiring managers who are doing it directly with RecruitiFi? What are you finding in so far?
So if you bought it as a company, you'd buy seat licenses, and you could give those seat licenses to anybody you want in your company. When they send out, and you would have an account manager, you have a dedicated account manager that would help train your team how to use it, but again, it's very easy to use. And then we have an onboarding process to onboard your third-party agencies. We give you a page and some information to redirect recruiters that are soliciting you. It's all very easy. That takes a few days, and then you're sort of ready to go. And then whoever you give seat licenses to can start sending out jobcasts if they have a budget, obviously, because you pay when you make a hire. And if you're the administrator, you can see how they're doing. You can see their activity, the number of jobcasts, and all that. And you're going to start to see candidates come in right away. We manage the relationship in terms of we bring on and onboard your third-party recruiters. At any point in time, if you want to talk to the recruiters offline, great, no problem. All the recruiters that submit candidates, you can see them, you can contact them. If you want to talk to them, we talk to the recruiter that submitted. We hired 3 Ruby programmers on. I want to be clear. He took about 90 days to fill the first position, and we had numerous conversations with him online. Nothing changed in the traditional way you might think, and we had a great relationship with him. But by the second job cast, he got faster, and by the third, in 1 hour, we had the candidate. So I don't know if that answers your question in terms of the relationship.
A little bit. So my company currently has, we work with an RPO right now. Mm-hmm. And so we just have basically head of talent acquisition, and everything else is handled via the RPO. Mm-hmm. And so looking at okay, cool. So there are certain seats. Who are you finding are in those seats? Do you see that those are HR business partners who are working with hiring managers, or do you think it's directly with departments? I'm just thinking about how it's being used,
so
on the team.
You would decide.
See what I mean?
So if you had hiring managers and you wanted to give them seats, you could give them seats. If you had internal employees or talent acquisition professionals, you could give them seats. We also can partner with RPOs to do their third-party referral hiring. Yeah. And a portion of their hiring, and we're talking to a lot of companies about doing that right now, and partnering with companies like Allegis Group and others for doing exactly that. So it really depends on who you want to have seats.
Cool. Awesome. I think that answers my question.
I can talk more about it if you want afterwards.
Yeah,
if that didn't. Yep.
What are your integration capabilities with ATSs? Do you integrate? If not, I imagine our hiring managers, after spending the time training them on our ATS, there may be some resistance, like, why am I using two systems?
Yep.
Can you elaborate?
Yep, no, definitely. So we integrate with pretty much any ATS. What ATS do you use? iCIMS. So we integrate.
Is that the dinosaur reference you gave?
No, it wasn't actually. We like iCIMS because we actually have a partnership with iCIMS, so we can integrate with them, no problem. Most of the ATSs have pretty elegant open APIs now, so we can integrate with them pretty easily. We will do an integration with any ATS, so you can work in your ATS to send out the job requisition. It's our crowd submitting, and then it's the candidate automatically flows into your applicant tracking system if you want. If you want, you can use our site for some of the functionality. So it's really up to you.
So you have companies that are bringing in agencies that they have existing relationships with. So they bring in a 20-25% agency, goes onto your platform.
Yep.
How much or how often do you see a conversion of that agency from the 1% play for you to a 14% play to somebody else? Because now they're on your platform,
Yep.
and now they're open to other people. And then the follow-up question to that would be, do you see them actually focusing more on the 20% client compared to what they're going to realize as a 10% client?
Yep. So this question comes up often. If you bring on one of your preferred agencies, and let's just say you set them at 30% fee, and you give them jobs through our system, they're obviously going to focus on those jobs. They will get other jobs. Well, first of all, they only get 5 jobs at a time. So our site is all about less. You do not get a lot of candidates. The recruiters do not get a lot of jobs. They get 5 at a time. They can only work at 5 at a time. They have to disposition the job if they want another one. And you only get 4 candidates from each recruiter. So you typically only get 10 or 20 recruiters. So those recruiters will get jobs from other companies if you're not feeding them. But they get them at the net 10% fee. So they're always going to be, your preferred vendors are always going to favor your jobs over the crowd jobs as long as your fee is higher, right? And they also know your company and they have a relationship. And so does that answer your question?
Yes, but then if I go in as Yes, but then if I go in as a company,
Yep.
looking for the crowd, right? Then I'm risking getting a 14% person who's actually focusing on a 20% job.
No. When you send out a job cast, you can either select your recruiter or you just let us do the selection. And we will select your legacy recruiters, a few of them that match, and some that are in our crowd. Depending on who made the placement, your fee will vary. I don't know if that answers it.
It does. And also you answered it earlier, I was realizing, with the whole rating system and making sure that people are actually providing quality candidates. So even if they are a 14% person who has a 20% client also on their docket, then they're going to get rated by how the quality of the candidates.
Every recruiter's rated, regardless. As soon as your recruiters join, we start to score them the exact same way. The only additional thing they have is a score that gives them a preference to get your jobs. And if your fee's higher, they're going to focus on it. But if you get a job, if you send out a job and a 14% or 10% player gets it, you're going to pay 14%. And you'd probably be happy with that, right?
First of all, this sounds really exciting. Congratulations to you guys on building this.
Thanks.
Definitely see the use of it in the market. In terms of the recruiters, where exactly are all of them coming from? So you said there's some from agencies, there's some that are from talent acquisition teams within the companies you partner with. Are some of these people independent contractors, like anyone can sign up and be a recruiter for you guys also?
Yep. So we have about 5,000 agency recruiters that have signed up through our marketing efforts and through the efforts of companies when they join. It tends to bring more sort of bees to the honey hive. And of those, there's about 150 companies. So agency companies of varying size. So most of them are independent people, have decided to work independently, but there's about 150 companies that have multiple recruiters on it. And when they sign up, and how do we get them? We get them through when companies come, they obviously bring their own agencies, and we also do very targeted marketing. So we will market for additional recruiters. If you have a Ruby job in Silicon Valley you're looking to fill, and if we don't have a great crowd of recruiters, or let's say you say, I don't use recruiters, I don't have any recruiters, doesn't matter. We will market to get recruiters. And believe me, we have very targeted ways where we can market to just recruiters, primarily on LinkedIn, for specific roles and location. And it works incredibly well. We actually have a whole marketing technique to do that, and we'll get 30 recruiters almost instantly within a few days, signing up in any category. We've placed nurses in hospitals in Rochester, New York, a nuclear engineer at a nuclear power plant in South Carolina, analysts at some of the top consulting companies, investment bankers at some of the top banks. I mean, it just doesn't matter the roles. There's a lot of manufacturing roles, managers in factories. The crowd of recruiters we can go get, and they're the experts. So anybody can sign up for RecruitiFi. You could go to the site and sign up right now. It takes you about 5 minutes, and you're going to be in the job system, and you're going to start to get job casts. What you don't know is when you start submitting candidates, we have an account management team that looks at your candidates first. So that's how we vet the recruiters, because every recruiter is going to say they're good, right? But the only thing that matters to us is whether they're submitting good candidates. And when they submit a candidate, we take a first look, and we have industry experts that focus on different classes of jobs. And if they sort no, 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 after about 10 no sorts, those recruiters get emails saying, hey, you're not doing this right. And we try to coach them, but then we just stop sending them jobcasts. And then keep in mind, even after the candidate is sorted yes, then you see the candidate as the company, and your sorting further scores them. So it's a kind of a double scoring system that vets them. And if you start saying no, 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 no after, even if we say yes, then again, that recruiter just stops getting jobs. It doesn't matter. They just sit on the site idly and don't get jobs for that class of jobs. And by the way, if they're good, I want to be clear, if they're bad at that job but good at another, doesn't mean that we disqualify them. We just give them the ones they're good at.
Hi, I'm Chris Snodgrass with Norwest Venture Partners. So I'm a talent partner for 100 plus companies. A little different scenario from my vantage point. I'm wondering, where can I find data on the percentage of IC hires versus exec hires, tech hires, G&A hires? I'd love to see that kind of breakdown to introduce my companies.
You mean on our platform?
Right. So
where
if I were to recommend the RecruitiFi
Yep.
platform to specific startups in our portfolio, I might say, look, these guys have done X percent manufacturing, you just mentioned, or these guys are great for Ruby and tech hires. Versus, I don't know, executive. So I'm curious if you have a breakdown or data on exec versus IC, tech, and other categories. Thanks.
I can definitely provide that after you, but just in a nutshell, we focus on jobs from about $50,000 to about $250,000 in salary. And it's typically white-collar professional jobs. There's actually quite a lot of manufacturing, but it's mainly management positions at those manufacturing companies. But the biggest areas of hiring are definitely technology, as you could imagine. Finance, consulting is big. And those are sort of the biggest areas. A lot of marketing roles. But I can give you that data later. But we're focused on kind of that middle market, 50 to 250 professional jobs, and our average salary on the site is about $120,000. So the average placement we've made is about $120,000. And those are, I'm sorry? Size of companies range from, we have many Fortune 500 companies that are using us down to small companies. We really don't like the one-off companies. So if you, for example, if you have a venture company that's looking for the proverbial purple squirrel, the one-off engineer that speaks 5 languages, and that's probably a more specialized search. And we like to fill kind of the bulk of the middle market positions. So we like mid to big companies that use this to source, repeat roles essentially. Because I want to be clear, the crowd of recruiters, they get fired up when they see a company sending out multiple jobs. And they're like, if I fill the first one, my chances of filling the second one are very high. And if I fill the second, I'm going to probably fill the third. And that's what gets them interested. If it's a one company that has 3 people that's looking to fill one position, that's not really what we specialize in.
I'm going to try to do a quick twofer that will hopefully benefit everyone. This model sounds like it's mostly applicable to direct hire. Have you thought about getting into the contingent workforce model with this kind of same principle? I could see some value add there. And then do you offer any sort of pilot programs?
So answer your first question first. Yes, we've had actually a number of firms hire people on our site early on, and we didn't have it in our contract, and they actually put them on Manpower and other systems, so that was kind of like they took our candidates, but we let it go. The answer is yes, and if you're interested in that, we'd love to work with you to figure, we have a lot of companies that want to partner with us and help design that, but that's going to be a feature definitely we want to roll out late this year, early next year, because there's frankly a lot of demand, and we get that question all the time, frankly. So it is something we're going to add. We just have to work out whether or not who we're going to partner with for payroll and what the fee structure is, because it'll be a little different than a traditional model. And how we pay out the recruiter, because the recruiter that submits them, we then have to pay them out over the life of the candidate. Yeah, that makes sense. So those are the things, and if you have ideas on it, we'd love to talk to you about it. Pilot, sorry. So we do a pilot. I mean, we can give a detailed demo, but when you do a pilot, yeah, I mean, you can try the product, but I will tell you that the initial value prop is to bring your recruiters on and get visibility, one contract and one vendor, and to eliminate those pesky solicitors, but gain their value. So not eliminate them, actually, get them onto the platform. So it's very hard to pilot that, because either you bring them on or you don't bring them on. You can demo the site if you want, and we can show you how a Jobcast works and show you the interface, but really the initial part of the value prop is this vendor consolidation component. And it's very hard, I mean, we'll pilot it for you, but we're going to invite all your recruiters on, and they got to join. And then if you
Pilot through the crowd?
yeah, you could pilot with the crowd, but I'm not going to guarantee you on day one we're going to have the right recruiter. I will guarantee you that we'll have the right recruiter over time, because if you don't have the right recruiters and we don't on day one, we will put a lot of marketing money to go find recruiters. And I can show you the numbers. It works incredibly well. If we do it's these retargeting ads, basically. We can put retargeting ads on recruiters at whatever class of job, and recruiters see them, and they're click. And we don't advertise ourselves. We advertise, hey, come help this company fill this position. They click through, and they immediately see your job. We vet them, and then they're delivered to you. And it works like incredibly well. Any class of job that we've gotten so far. We get like 20, 30 recruiters within a few days that join, particularly if it's a good brand that we're advertising.
Can you talk a little bit about crowd control and how you would control the crowd, like prevent those 5,000 people from calling me directly?
Yep.
And also on the other side is what stops them from turning around and just calling the company and saying, I want to work this job at 20%?
So first of all, I'll answer the second question first. It really doesn't happen at all, because once people start using this system, if you got a call, if the recruiter does it, they're just kicked off the site. But the companies don't even take their call because they don't want to deal with them directly. They're like, if you've got a good candidate, sign up to the platform. There's a single contract. If they're a preferred vendor, you set their fee. If they're not, so you don't have to deal with them. And no company wants to deal with them directly once they start using our platform. It just doesn't happen. But the remarkable thing is I don't think I've heard of a recruiter doing that since very early on when we first started. They get it. They understand that we're spoon feeding them jobs from companies that they would never get into. By the time, they don't want to go and solicit you. They don't want to go and contract with you and negotiate, and then they have a separate contract for you and others. It's a pain for them too. And if they would rather just get 10 jobs from you that are very specialized. So they get it. So that's the second part of your question. Sorry, the first question was what?
The crowd control.
Oh.
How do you prevent them from calling you?
Yeah. So when you send out a job cast, we do identify the company and the role, but you're not identified. So they could solicit your company, but they're not going to know who to call. They can only, when they submit a candidate, we do reveal who the recruiter is, and you can contact the recruiter. You can take it offline. We don't care. Once you contact them, they can contact you back. There's also a lot of tools where we will allow you to either individually or to the group of recruiters that have responded to a Jobcast, you can do webinars that we will host. And so if you want to talk about the corporate culture, specifics about the role, and also there's a communication tool. It's like a chat tool that allows you to individually respond to a recruiter. Hey, I like that candidate, but they didn't have an MBA. Do you have anyone else like that? Whatever you want. Or you could say, hey, I forgot to put in an MBA, and you can just broadcast that to the entire crowd. We're going to be very soon adding a tool to allow good recruiters. Once a recruiter gets to a certain score and we trust them, meaning they have enough yes candidates and have made enough hires, we trust them, they know how to use the site, we know that they're not going to ask silly questions. We allow them to communicate directly back to you. Right now, they communicate to us. So we actually curate those questions for you as part of our account management service. So the recruiters can respond back, but we look at them first, and then we'll forward them to you if we think they're valid. Does that make sense? Yeah.
Hi, me again. How are you handling companies who want specifics around diversity in terms of getting a diverse slate?
Subject to your internal compliance rules and your internal requirements, you can indicate that you have a preference for a diverse candidate. And I think there's no substitute for a person going out there and finding the right candidate to fill the role. So if you have a preference for somebody, you can communicate that to them. And I mean, that's how it's done, really. So if you tell a recruiter you want a diverse candidate and you're willing to pay for that, they will go. Recruiters will do what they're paid to do, basically. And the good ones do a very good job at doing that. So that's how we do it. We use the human, we leverage the human element is the short answer.
When we have, say, a tier 1 vendor that we're currently using at a 30% fee, right? Mm-hmm. And we then migrate them over to your system, still at that 30% fee, are they now receiving 26% because you're gaining that 4%, or how does that work?
No, glad you asked that question, so there's no confusion. If you bring a recruiter on at 30%, if they make, and then you send out a job cast, if they make the placement, let's say it's a $100,000 job, just for easy math, we'll charge you $30,000. We keep $1,000 as an administrative fee and pay $29,000 to that recruiter. And the justification there is we're doing all the collections. The contract is simplified for the recruiter. They like our contract. It's a very easy contract for them to understand. There's never a debate about candidate ownership, candidate double submission, because it's all one system. There's never a debate about guarantee periods or any of that, because again, one system eliminates all of that. So where we've charged 4 points is if it's our crowd that makes the placement. In that example, we charge you $14,000, we keep 4, and we pay our crowd $10,000. Does that make sense? Now, you can decide whatever fees you want for your legacy recruiters. That's up to you. And we encourage you to put in the fees that are going to make them happy initially, because we want them collectively. When I say we, you, us, all want them on the platform.
Hi.
Hi.
So I leverage the recruiters that I have really good relationships with to ask them about compensation or what they're seeing in the market.
Yep.
I leverage a lot of that data from them to kind of get the real world or real time data.
Yep.
You've mentioned account managers at RecruitiFi. Would companies be able to call and ask for similar advice or consulting when we've got a position that is new to us and we don't know how to level it?
So you'll be assigned an account manager as a client, and you could definitely call them for help on any matter. We also generate a tremendous amount of data. We don't share, obviously, anything proprietary. We do share anonymized data, and we will increasingly do that. And I think we're going to start to see some very interesting trends on our platform. So a lot of that data will be delivered to you on the dashboard. And also, I want to emphasize, you can still have that same relationship with that recruiter. We're not trying to interfere or get in the way of that. We're just trying to make it easier for everybody. And so you can communicate with them through the platform. You can communicate them with a webinar that we will orchestrate or coordinate for you, or you can just call them up because they're readily available on the platform for you. So it's up to you.
All right, guys, time for one more.
You mentioned double submission. How do you determine if you have multiple recruiters submit the same candidate? How do you determine which recruiter submits the candidate ultimately?
It's first come, first serve. So
Okay.
if 2 recruiters submit the same candidate, as long as they're using the same email address, it will reject the second submission. Now, in the rare circumstance which I honestly don't even know if it's ever happened. I can't even remember if it ever has. Somebody submits a candidate with a Yahoo address, another with a Gmail address. It still is contractually first come, first serve. So if you end up hiring that person, you'd only pay one recruiter. And the recruiters know, they agreed to that. It's part of their terms. It doesn't matter, even if they got the candidate through. It's first come, first serve. So one more? Wait.
Geographic locations, are they most of your signed up recruiters in the US? I'm thinking India.
Yeah, so we actually have a lot of recruiters in India. I mean, they're mostly US based, our crowd of recruiters, but we do have recruiters from around the world that have joined. We have companies, all of our clients are US based. We do have some companies that are now starting to want to use it overseas, but right now it's only in English, only in US currency, and only compliant with US labor laws. So if you're doing something in Europe or Germany, I know that the laws are different there. So but the goal is to go global and offer this for companies. But you can use it globally, and there are recruiters that submit from around the world. Any other questions? Wait, one more.
We'll never stop.
That's all right, that's all right.
Can you cater to commission jobs where you guys are charging 14%? What if the job doesn't have a salary range? Because the person can produce at a different, can we say like this job would pay a 14K fee and just have a flat fee?
Yes.
Simple question. You keep mentioning big data that you're collecting and mining and aggregating. Do you charge for that data?
No. You have, as you sign up for the platform, you have a dashboard, and that a lot of that data is there, and we can customize that dashboard for you. And as we get more interesting data, we're going to start to provide that to our customers. If you sign up now, no charge. If you sign up next year, we might charge you. Okay, I'm kidding you. One last question? I know people are getting hungry. Sorry.
Sorry about that, but
No problem.
to piggyback on the whole double submission thing, what happens if you're actively interviewing or reviewing a candidate already that's in, that you've been in your database, so it's not in your platform? I actually had a similar situation a few years ago where we had a kind of a crowdsourced type of a tool for agencies, and this one agency kept submitting candidates that was like second round interviews, and then they did it again, and they did it again, and then they were fighting. Right, with the company saying, no, this is my person. I've talked to them. I've engaged with them. They're mine. I've had them for years, but we're already interviewing them. Right?
Yeah, so very good question and very good reason why the one platform solves literally that entire problem. First of all, we have one standard set of ownership. So we own candidates 180 days after submission unless you've been interviewing that candidate for that or a similar job in the prior 90 days. Prior 180 days. And that's it. And so there's no ambiguity. The recruiters are unambiguous. The companies are all signing up for the same agreement. And with the ATS integration, we submit the candidate immediately into the ATS. If they're already owned, we get notification back. We're like, great. I mean, hopefully you still hire the person. But the candidate, the recruiter's immediately notified on their dashboard, thanks for that submission, candidate already owned. So it's literally not an issue. They get, the thing that recruiters hate is they don't hear back. If you give them the feedback right away, and that's the one thing we've really designed. It's a feedback mechanism that cuts out so many cycles of communication for these agency recruiters, and that's one of the things that they tell us is very valuable for them, because they do not like the old resume black hole where they don't hear back and they don't know if the candidate's been interviewed, they don't know if the candidate's owned and all that, and it goes on and on and on, and then they get very frustrated. And that's why, they get frustrated, and then they become less effective. So I think that's it. I think we're going to have a good lunch coming up. So thank you, everybody. Really appreciate it.
Thanks, Brin.